I'm sure you are here to find about ways to transition into data science from your current domain. Well, this is part 2 of the video. For part 1, click on the link above. Well, I'm going to discuss two more domains in this part 2 so that you would know how you can transition from these particular domains plus a bonus tip in the end. So stay tuned. So we are all looking to transition into the field of data science from our current domains. Well, in our part 1 video, we had discussed different domains such as UX researchers, software engineers, or even from sales and marketing background. Like if you are belonging from these backgrounds, how can you transition? Again, the link is mentioned above. You can definitely go and watch that video. But in this video, I'm going to discuss two more domains. What are those domains? Well, transition number one. How can you transition from being an HR to start a career in data science, right? Well, honestly, when people hear transition stories from HR to data science, they find themselves dumbfounded, right? And usually the reaction that comes is, are you serious? Like, is there any connection between these fields? Well, technically, like I said, anybody can become a data scientist, assuming A, you master the programming skill, and B, you show potential employers how you can add value, right? But if you already have strong experience in HR, then it makes logical sense to leverage that domain expertise, right? So for example, a lot of the larger companies use data scientists in the HR domain for workforce analytics, right? But by doing that, they understand the employee churn, the project ROIs, leadership development, and to improve diversity metrics, right? Not that I'm not saying that you cannot pivot 100% to a completely different domain. It's just that it would be hard for anyone to start from scratch, okay? When you're making this transition from HR to data science, right? So you really need to have the domain knowledge, or you need to develop some serious technical chops to make this transition. And if I'm talking about being very honest, occasionally salaries at the entry level data scientist roles might be a little bit of a step down, from if you're doing that transition from HR for someone who has 7 to 10 years of corporate or managerial experience, right? Well, the next transition that I have is from psychology to data science, right? Now, let us not forget that data science is a subsection of artificial intelligence, AI, right? It's a psychology professional may have many insights that are invisible to a normal person, right? Now the key here is to move as fast as possible to an actual project in your area, right? So be the psychologist in a team, write about it, meet with people in the field, and find a next job that is 80% psychology or 20% machine learning, and then you can go from there. So take baby steps when you're moving from psychology to data science. So one area that I would suggest that you can start with if you're coming from psychology background is human computer interface. It is HCI. So here what you can do is how people can communicate emotions to the machines, which ones are those and why, how the systems can be made more efficient by taking into account the frustration, stress, or pushback from the users, right? How to generate expressions in synthetic speech, and even how the algorithm can become emotionally intelligent, right? That is, take into account human psychology in its evaluations of scenarios, or the impact that it creates. So like I think a dozen of companies or labs that employ there are they are now employing psychologists to understand and study the human behavior, which can now then be translated into data science, right? So, and of course, there is obviously that entire industry, thanks to the online social media revolution that we have. An entire industry exists which measures, tracks, and every nuance of human behavior online, right? So you can say the manipulative behavior, so the addictive features of any app that we have? Well, we have experts studying us all about that, right? So two very, very interesting domains here. Now, just to add a bonus tip, right? There is no one background which is required to become a data scientist, right? And this is one of the most common questions, that you would see when you're making this transition. Can I become a data scientist, without a technical or an engineering background? Well, the short answer is yes, why not? Right? So there is no background per se required for you to become a data scientist in the long run, right? It's all about your interest and you asking whether you are interested to work with data and envision yourself in a role where data and decision making are aligned, right? So I suggest personally that you take a high level learning pathway, right? But individual learning needs with regards to time and effort might require appropriate tweaking in following steps, right? So if you're a beginner, ideally you would need to start learning programming, right? So in case you don't have any prior experience, I would suggest that you start learning, for example, learn programming like R or Python, and become proficient in that kind of a language. You can gain the knowledge in intermediate statistics and probability. You can learn linear algebra or machine learning algorithms, such of these, gain knowledge in these subjects. You can work with independent projects, try to implement your learning in a step by step fashion while solving objectives of different projects, right? So my suggestion is a high level overview of what you can do to start, but you will find the best path once you begin learning by doing it yourself. Well, these were just some pointers from my end. If you're looking to transition to field of data science, well, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you like the video, like I said, don't forget to watch the part 1 as well. The link is mentioned above. And definitely whenever there's a new video out, you will get notified.